Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Daki, and welcome to another episode of Daki Time. So, first of all, before we get into this episode, I would have to say I am sorry for this episode being up a little later than normal. The file that I recorded on Daki Time a couple of days ago had been corrupted. I couldn't process that, so I am redoing Daki Time for this week. Not to worry though, because the question Stoney has asked for this week's episode is fantastic, and I could sit down for hours, Stoney, and talk about what you have raised in these questions. So guys, I do apologize for being late, but let's get straight into the episode this week, which Stoney has quite kindly asked us this fantastic question. So let's dive straight into it. Stoney asks, how do we feel about the gradual shift in gameplay philosophy, such as the focus on action over complexity in the fight mechanics? What about the removal of class dependency encounters? Has the portal network diminished the social aspect? How about cross-reliance of professions for crafting items? Is the leveling too fast, and is it even relevant anymore? It feels like the devs are adjusting to the current world social status to attract a broader audience. Are we losing the short break from reality, or is it the experience enhanced by more social media environment? Wow, I got a little bit wrong there, guys, but Stoney, thank you so much for the question. The question is, well, questions, I should say, are fantastic, and I want to say I'm sorry I may not get to every single point of your question, but I do want to raise a few points to this and try and answer as much as I can, or bring light, basically, to what you have asked. So, first of all, when you ask the gradual shift in gameplay philosophy, such as the focus on action over complexity in fight mechanics. So this is something I sort of touched on in a previous episode of Daki Time, just briefly, and it's something that is close to my heart as far as what I really call tank and spank fight mechanics versus, as you put it, the complexity. Now, I am a huge fan of developing raid bosses, dungeon bosses that offer utility, or you have to do certain things to basically achieve the fight. Tank and spank fights are so relevant, so sort of oversaturated right now. I dare someone to go back to all the raid bosses in Legion and the raid bosses we have seen in BFA, and when I mean tank and spank, here's what I mean by tank and spank. It doesn't have to be straight up no mechanics. Movement mechanics, or one ad that you have to go and deal with, or tank swapping, moving the boss to a different area of the platform, I still consider tank and spank. And the reason for this is because it doesn't require 5 people to break off from the group to go and do a certain mechanic, a certain thing basically in the raid environment, to then come back to achieve the fight. So a good part of this is A&R in Legion was one of these fights that is not tank and spank. It requires you to break off into equal groups or 3 groups, or do certain things in that fight. Granted, it was kind of repetitive once you got into the routine of it. But in long story short, it is not a tank and spank fight. You can't stand there as a group of 10 or 20 and basically just go, all right, there's something going to hit the group now, let's move. All right, there's something going to hit the group now, let's move. Because that is so boring. I don't understand how all these fights get into the game. They are quite dull, really. So with that said, I don't like the philosophy that it is so easy right now to do dungeon bosses, and the only hard thing about raid bosses, and the only hard thing about raid bosses is simply boils down to how hard they are hitting your tanks, or how hard that one ability hits the ground for, and you've just got to heal through it. Add complexity, add depth. So yeah, I agree with you on that. I don't feel real well about it. I would love to see more complexity, Stoney. I really, really would. But moving on, you do go on to say, what about the removal of class dependency encounters? And that sort of ties into what I've said. We've got classes like rogues, we've got demon hunters that have stupid amounts of mobility. How about we utilize that? How about we have the fastest moving characters in the game having to run for a certain objective and complete that objective before they come back and help the rest of the team with the fight? I don't understand. I really would love to see more fights like that. And I'm fingers crossed that moving into the last couple of raids of BFA, that they get more complex. Because of the story that's being told through those raids, I'm hoping they add some complexity to that. And obviously class-dependent encounters. So I really, really agree with that. So basically, as you move on, you ask Stoney, how about the cross-reliance of professions for crafted items? I personally have not experienced much of this as being just a straight jewel crafter and miner. So in all honesty, I don't see or feel the impact for this, but I do kind of get what you're saying. And this is one thing that I think deserves a Daki Time episode all on its own, is basically I would love to see professions be impactful, if that makes sense. I would rather see professions be something that needs to be worked on and utilized to gain an advantage in the game, such as better gear, better enchants, better gems, and they are impactful. Right now, when BFA was, sort of in its infancy, and you could get the small enchants, and it's like increases your crit strike chance or your haste by 8 or 9. And you're like, okay, that's cool, but I can actually survive without buying those. And I think this is turning the question a little bit on its head here, Stoney, but I don't think professions are meaningful anymore. I would almost argue the point. You could go through a whole normal raid environment, a whole heroic raid environment, without needing a single enchant, a single gem, maybe even a flask for that matter. I would almost argue that that professions as a whole in that category, like crafting professions for those consumables, are not highly needed. Yes, they make an impact, and yes, they make a difference for your percentiles and actually getting through. But can you do a heroic raid with no gems, enchants, or flasks? Yeah, absolutely you could, because they're not impactful. If that makes sense, I hope that makes sense, because in all honesty, professions you don't even really need to do unless you want to make money these days, and that is even easy on its own right. So I hope I've answered that, Stoney. So you go on to ask, is the leveling too fast, and is it even relevant anymore? Thank you for someone that's asked this. And this is the whole reason I'm doing the no aid leveling toon, basically, and the whole rant I had on about 2 episodes ago on Daki Time is leveling even relevant anymore? Can Blizzard basically look at your account and go, hey, this guy's been playing for 6 years or 7 years or 8 years or however long. This guy's got X amount of 100 toons, max level toons, or even above 100. How about whenever he creates a new character now, he just gets a character at 110 or 100 or 120 because he has already spent that, or she, has already put that time and effort in. Is it even relevant anymore, or is it too fast? Are we skipping so much content to catch up to that end goal, or that max level, that it just becomes irrelevant, basically? I absolutely get you, and I think that leveling, for someone that has been in the game for so long, it can be boring, and you want to get through it, and you just want to get to max level. So why not make that option? Why not give people that option? Granted, and I know people will make this argument that, yes, we can just buy boosted toons, but why not just make it free? I mean, why not? We've been around the block for so many times. How many times do I have to farm Elwyn Forest? Like, that is the whole point of this no aid leveling toon, to feel the experience of the game. So I hope I've answered that a bit more, Stoney. And you also ask, or basically state, it feels like the devs are adjusting to the current world social status to attract a broader audience. Agreed. Are we losing the short break from reality, or is the experience enhanced more by social media environment? So basically, a group of people, a community, or a social gathering, basically, is a dynamic, fluent thing. It's not a static thing. People change beliefs, outlooks, views, opinions, experiences on things. We know this because it can be influenced, or people change opinions and flow. So it's not a static thing, it's a very dynamic thing. So when we see more and more games pop up, and I'm going to use the example here of things like Battle Royale games, games like Overwatch, games that offer that quick fix, jump in. Someone's asking me something that offers the quick fix. So basically, I can play a game of Apex in less than sort of 15 minutes, 10 minutes, throw it down, okay, I've had my quick fix, now what? I absolutely agree. Does Blizzard want to buy into that sort of genre where, not the Battle Royale style, but where you can pick World of Warcraft up, get 10 minutes of your fix, put World of Warcraft down, and you'll be like, okay, I've had my fix and move on? Probably. And I would almost say that Blizzard are scared almost, and it sounds like and seems like they are worried of losing subscribers and people playing the game, because I think they have this own view of themselves that they are staying too in this rut of what World of Warcraft is. And I think, and I'm gonna go out on the assumption here, that's what people want, Blizzard. I'm sorry, people want World of Warcraft to be World of Warcraft. That is, the grind, the achievement-focused gameplay, the social aspect where you can walk into an environment and feel it filled with basically hundreds and thousands of players, and you feel like you're part of this massive community that's working and working and working towards end goals. Who cares if it takes 5 or 6 hours to achieve that one goal rather than 10 minutes? It is the process that involves in that. Think of when any of you have gone and gotten a degree or a certificate through university or something similar. What does it feel like when you've spent that 4, 6, 8, 12 years on trying to achieve your credentials in getting that? At the end, you're like, yes, I feel so satisfied that I've gotten that. What would the feeling be if you rocked up to university and said, hey, I want to be a lawyer, sign here, 6 months later you've got your certificate, and you're like, cool. There's no satisfaction in that. There's no satisfaction in picking World of Warcraft up, going, hey, I want to level a new toon. You level it in, a day, basically. You got to max level. You do 1 or 2 normal dungeons. You do a heroic dungeon. You're like, oh, this is cool. You jump into LFR raid, and then you're like, cool, all right, you put the game down. And within a week, you're like, I've experienced the game. That's not what the core player base of what World of Warcraft want. And I'm going to go out on the ledge here, and the assumption here, I know I'm going off track here, Stoney, so I really do apologize, that Blizzard have reached the lowest subscriber rate in the entirety of the game. Now, we thought this would be back in Warlords of Draenor, and this is not confirmed by any measure, guys, but they have sort of stated that they are at their lowest subscriber point by a large margin. And if you look at Google Trends, if you look at search histories, if you look at all of that, you will see that RuneScape is beating World of Warcraft for searches for players. Now, to me, that's devastating, and I don't want that to be the case. But the adjustment that Blizzard are making for the social environment, or for the social status quo, if you really want to call it, I don't like it, and I think that Blizzard should keep to their roots and make World of Warcraft the way World of Warcraft is and should be. But hey, that is going a little bit off topic, and I've gone a little bit sort of askew there. Stoney, great questions, man, and like I said, I could sit down for hours and discuss every little point of your question. It was a bit of a big question here, and I should have probably broken this into a couple of questions and done several Daki times on it, which I probably can come back to this and redo. I've glossed over a lot of things, but all in all, I hope I have answered your question. We have been going on for almost 15 minutes now, so thank you everyone that is still here listening to this video. I very much appreciate it. If you want me to answer any questions or talk about a topic, please leave it in my Discord under the requests tab with an @Daki Time, and that way I know what you guys are asking for. Guys, once again, thank you so much for coming and watching these videos. You guys make it so much easier for me to come and make these and do what I love doing. Stoney, I hope I've helped you out in answering those, or brought light to a couple of these questions. And until next time, everyone, have a great day. Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming and watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see the rest of these videos and keep up to date with what I'm doing. Thanks all, and see you next time.